Hello everyone, my name is Danny, I am from Oregon, and today I am officially showcasing to you in the long and detailed version, up close and personal basically, with all the different lines, including Cascadia ICE and UHSR, so Ultra High Speed Rail, showcasing the entire Sound region, also known as the Seattle region's entire network concept that I have conceived for my Cascadia Transit Expansion Project, which you can check out the playlist, always pinned in the description, and also the pinned comment below. And of course, you can also see the extremely short, quick version of this if you do not like the up close and personal detailed breakdowns, or showcases in this case, of the complete network rather than the usual individual ones that I tend to do. I've decided that I just do this almost for my own sanity and self, because I like being very detailed and covering all my bases. So, in case you actually want to see the full detail, and also how each of these concept lines interact with each other and the whole system, and thus, if you're from the area especially, you're familiar with the Sound Transit Network, the Pierce Transit Network, the Key County Metro Network, the Snoqualmie County Network, the Kitsap County Network, which I believe is just called Community Transit in Kitsap because reasons. You get the idea. You actually will be able to see how all of this is intertwined, interconnected with each of those pre-existing systems, their current networks, their future potential lines, and also, of course, this concept network, because that is the whole goal of this, is to be able to see what we could have if we lived in a semi-utopian world where we got to have nice things, rather than it all going into politicians' pockets, and so they get kickbacks from developers and everyone else. Is pretty great. Anyway, let's get giggity going. So I suppose I will, since I'm already zooming in on Seattle proper, let's start at this core of the Seattle region and Seattle itself. So the chief is looking mighty well connected, if I say so myself. The blue stations, by the way, are the Cascadia Ultra High Speed Rail, or just Cascadia HSR, station locations. And of course, this pink line I kind of fucked up on, because in case you're not familiar with Google Earth, when you alter your lines in something and then you merge each of the sections together, because as you can see, a lot of these lines actually change colorations here and there, like this one right here. That's because of the fact that these are denoting different grades, basically. So these are all at their own grade, they're all on their own right-of-ways, but this is a tunnel. Orange is always tunnel, purple is always viaduct or elevated, and of course green is always transition track. Yellow, which you'll see in other parts of the network, like here, and here, and here, and here, are all at grade, meaning they're on the ground. They're at the level of the roads. So, because of that, if you merge those, like I did, to get the total length, the easy way, of this line, and also for a thumbnail to make it stand out better than the purple does, so that it really is obvious for the whole Cascadia ICE line, wee-hee, all the way down to Ashland from freaking Surrey Langley. Yeah, you don't ever shut down Google Earth after that. You always have to revert back before you shut it down, because if you shut it down, it saves it, and then you can't go back. It's permanently stuck. And unfortunately, the ICE line, also known as Intercity Express, thus ICE, yeah, fucked up. So it's just permanently pink. But yeah. So anyway, that's the ICE line, and this is the ultra high speed rail line. Obviously, through here, it would, of course, be underground. So it would also be a tunnel through central Seattle. That said, we have a bunch of different lines coming into Seattle. They don't all intersect, obviously, because it's kind of complicated and difficult to pull that off and justify it, especially with the damn monorail existing, which is actually why this dead ends here, because I wanted to take it to the World's Fair site, also known as South Lake Union, but I couldn't because the fucking monorail blocks it. So, at a macro level view, this is two different lines obviously intersecting with each other. This line is just starts here at this station and goes east. I believe this is the Seattle-Duval Metro line, if I recall correctly. It might be the North Bend, but I'm pretty sure it's the Duval. Yeah, this is the Duval one. So this one goes up into Duval, which I believe is right here. And yeah, because that's Monroe. So that one goes directly into Duval. and then it connects up through this region down through Redmond proper, Microsoft part of Redmond, Bellevue. But yeah, so that's the Seattle Duval Metro. And so I figured it actually kind of lined perfectly to be able to cross these two metro lines together. Because I know this is the North Bend Seattle Metro line. This one right here that does this. And then, of course, we have this line, which is just the Seattle Metro, as I call it. This one is the one, I believe, that goes to Lake City. It does, yes. So it dead ends in Lake City, goes down through Seattle proper, and goes and loops its way here in West Seattle. So there you go. But pretty neat. Anyway, this is Pike's Place, for those that do not know, right here. So this is all Pike's Place, Clarkett. Okay, cool. I'm not dyslexic, I swear. Pike's Place Market. So I put the station right here, where they also have the pedestrian overpass, of course, over technically former Alaska Way. I'm sure it's still probably called Alaska Way, but I'm not entirely sure. So you have your interconnectivity there. And so basically, if you think about it, if you just took these two lines alone, you'd actually could go from all the way over here in Duval. And in fact, if you took the East Ender as well, you could start up, if you wanted to, say, in Snoqualmie or something like that. Let's say just say Monroe. And you could take Monroe all the way down here through and into downtown Seattle proper. And then you could transfer to the Seattle line, and you could go down and get directly down to West Seattle, transfer one more time to the Seattle, West Seattle Burien line, which just goes to SeaTac here. And then you see all the different freaking lines that share this major station here. And that doesn't include the light rail. That doesn't include Sounder potentially having a station there at some point if they don't already, which I don't think they do. They should if they don't. And obviously all the other bus lines that go here already, which then you just, any kind of transit services you just have go into this underground transit center right here at the entrance to the airport and the terminals, because this is obviously still pre-security. Well, obviously how you'd be entering and getting through is right through here, which then enters you actually into the actual terminal building, obviously. And then that way you're not past security, basically. So that way you'd actually be able to go that through there. So that's basically that covered. So you don't have to worry about it, like, because it goes through and over other parts of the terminal, like this part here, this part here. I know they're expanding and adding to this, by the way. The terminals, they're adding more capacity at SeaTac, and they're also adding stories to it because reasons. So, yeah, basically we go underneath that, and anything that's pre-security, those would be all the different connection points depending on, because you'd want to try to get you pre-security, but like as close to your terminal or your gates as possible, I would say, is ultimately the end goal there. So yeah, and then obviously since it's underground, you have multiple levels, and then that way, not just for the rail, but you'd also have it, you know, for this concept rail, but you'd also have it for obviously the Sound Transit. So the above ground light rail station can now merge down into the actual transit center itself. Same with a sounder, if they ever have that. If they don't yet, they should, like I said, that can connect in there. And then obviously all the different bus lines will be on its own level as well, under the ground, with in this transit center, so that way you have so much interconnectivity and intermodality, it's disgusting. Right off, literally out of the gate, literally right off the gate, or right out the gate, which is just really good. So yeah, you can just make two quick transfers, boom, boom, and then make your way down, and congratulations, you're now officially in SeaTac. And I mean, all of these other connectivity points that just take you all the way even down to Olympia on the ICE line, an example, if you don't want to take all the metro lines instead down there as well. And you also have a regional rail line that goes from here and goes up and connects up through, it's either Everett or Arlington. I think yeah, it's Everett. Wabam. So it's really neat. So you have a lot of interconnectivity and also some good redundancy that's well spaced apart. East Lake Regional Rail Line, it'll actually get you good interconnectivity at Everett, and then well spaced out, it'll get you another good connectivity with the ICE line and the HSR line down at SeaTac, which I think is real. Actually, no, just the ICE line at SeaTac. You'd be able to have that as well, which I think is just really cool and really fucking important. I also made Renton a kind of a hub because the highways and everything else in the main roadways here just kind of naturally formed into a bit of a hub. Obviously, the south end of Bellevue here, the Newport neighborhood, that became kind of a hub location. which is, I think, kind of cool because a lot of these hubs, like this even here in West Seattle, which is a pseudo hub, but yeah, these all, other than this, is obviously planned. It makes total sense to do that as well. They're all like unintentional. None of these hubs were actually intentional. They just naturally developed on their own, which I think is really freaking cool. The only other truly intentional one was, besides Tacoma, was actually Emnaquah, which is again a pseudo hub because technically there's only going to be 2 lines that would go to Emnaquah. So I think that's really freaking cool as well. But yeah, so again, just like the interconnectivity is exhaustive for that reason. I mean, we got the what I call the South End Metro, which it literally is a loop over this overpass and underpass interchange here. Womp, and then here's your first station. On the far west, as they're still sprawling and developing the west edge of Olympia, there's a line there. And then obviously you have your stations all the way placed through, cut through here, and eventually you cut north on that line. And then, of course, you have your way up here to the Narrows station, which is kind of what I default to calling it. And then you have 2 lines intersecting there, which also intersect here, which is kind of the main Tacoma station, if you can't tell, because obviously also the HSR stops here as well, not just the ICE line, which that is, it can stop there. I want the HSR to stop there. I understand why a lot of people wouldn't want it to do that, because you want as minimal stations as possible for true ultra high-speed rail line, but at the same time, it's such an important epicenter of the entire metro area for the south end that here, if you don't have it at SeaTac, you're going to have it in Tacotown Central, you're going to have it in Seattle Central, and then I think you also definitely need one in Everett Central. And so that's why I have the Everett station there for mainly the, originally it was for the ICE line, or the ultra high-speed rail line. I have the one in center Seattle, and then I was calling it Seattle for some reason. And then if you want to, you can have it stop at SeaTac. I remember that I actually made the HSR stop at SeaTac, and I plucked the stop at SeaTac for the HSR instead, and made the ICE do that instead, because I think the ICE makes a lot more sense. And again, with Link, and also with potentially the Sounder, and obviously the bus services, and then other metro lines, it just doesn't make any sense to me that you would have the HSR also have a stop there, because you're definitely going to need one in downtown Seattle. If you're negotiating between downtown Seattle and SeaTac, downtown Seattle makes a lot more sense for HSR, because more people are going to want to go to and from there. So, and plus, it's kind of a hub for not just the pre-existing transit, but also this network that the concept of mine, for the Cascadia Transit Expansion Network, or project. So as a result, that's all the more reason to have that interconnectivity there. But yeah, Renton is an interesting little hub location, because this was completely naturally formed. It was never intended, and this is a mess of a station look, but it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. Yep, leave me alone. Yeah, so I think that's just really cool. But obviously, as you probably figured, this is obviously the regional rail line. So naturally, you have a stop at SeaTac, and then you'd have a stop here, I figured, along the regional rail line, because it's also really close to a Sounder location, a Sounder station, which is right here. You're close to a potential tourist attraction, at least especially for local people, which obviously this will still be mainly for locals, but obviously for tourists as well, is you have this amusement park type of thing you have, which is really tiny, but you have this big athletic complex. You have of course a bunch of businesses here. You have obviously what's probably going to be slowly increasing density businesses, the massive sprawling mall and warehouse complex, which is just terrifying and should be getting rid of. Well, okay. And then obviously you have a station over here where you'd be bypassing everything in Renton until you get up to this Renton North Station, which is deceptively narrow, which I keep forgetting is the case. Yeah, it's right here. You can just barely notice it. I obviously need to widen that and redo it a bit, so it's a little more accurate to what it would actually look like and be shaped like, and also the size of it. But yeah, so this is the next stop. And obviously it's negotiable to even have this stop. Where was it? It was right here. It's even negotiable to have that, but because it's the only one of the rail lines I have in this concept, I figured there probably should be one there because of the mall and just a ton of working areas. And then obviously you have the Sounder right here, and that's readily going to be accessible, especially if you have paths you'd build in. Same with the athletic complexes and all this stuff. I just think it makes a lot of sense to have an infill station there. but it's still technically optional. So if you wanted to and make it even more express, just get rid of that stop, and then you just, boom, go from SeaTac directly to the North Renton station, and then you're on your way. But that's why it bypasses the station. I guess you could negotiate and say, oh, what about instead of this station, you have it here. But I just like that there's a main route and thoroughfare right through here. And the fact that they're also developing it in here, and then obviously this tease through here, I just think it makes a lot of sense to have it go through there anyway. And plus, it's really close to all the Boeing stuff and developments. So all the more reason why I figured that makes a lot of sense to have that there. But yeah, so that's a natural little hub section. So you have, technically there's 2 lines you see here, which are actually 2 different options of 3 for the last regional rail line that I proposed, which you can watch in this video here. And you can choose for yourself which one you think makes the most sense. And then obviously this line you can see here is the 3rd option. This is the 2nd option that crosses through here. And that was why, obviously, this section of the station suddenly gets added. This is obviously, any lumps you see like this or right angles on stations is because this extra bit is for mixed-use development. Basically, it's like pre-planning. It's like, okay, obviously this makes sense in this plot that's available to develop this into a medium or high-density mixed-use development that literally the station is kind of, it's either built into the station or you can say it's the station's built into it. So that way, the 1 or 2 or 3, probably 2 floors that are actually public public. No, they're not the residents, but they're the commercial and or public gathering spaces would actually be built into. It would be built into one of the 2 floors, probably the 2nd floor, obviously, for the viaducted reasons. So there is that. And this is another messy hub, and this is something that's unique that I did, because this is one of the latest things, last things I did was I fixed this station area because of the intermodality between 3 different lines. So you have the East Lake Regional, this regional rail option of the 3 that again was in that video I referenced that you should probably watch if you want to actually see my rationale for each line and which one you think would work the best and be the best to support. And so obviously also because it's much later, I started doing all this extra stuff like this, little path connections and stuff like that to other stations or to the ground level, whatever else added to the stations. I also started to make them way larger. As you could tell, my mind kind of changed and shifted. I'm like, actually, this is probably a little more realistic to higher capacity, longer distance lines like these, because they'd probably be a lot more in demand. They'd be a lot bigger trains. You get the idea. And it also adds expandability, which I think is really necessary. So that's why there's such a divergence here. Whereas the metro lines obviously are never going to really need a massive freaking station. So I kind of always settled on the rule of like 0.18 to, I believe it's 0.35. But I try to aim for 0.2 to 0.25 in terms of the overall station area, which I go by the perimeter, and that is in miles. The total length of the perimeter is that big. So technically, theoretically, they may actually be a bit small. And in fact, actually looking at some of the light rail stations that they've been building recently, I would say it probably is quite small, because I mean, like, holy shit, this whole light rail station goes to about here-ish. And then it goes, realistically, though, the actual platform goes to probably about here. And then it goes all the way back and it kind of platforms out here, which is, as you can tell, even width-wise and perimeter-wise, it's going to be way bigger than my other metro stations. So, yeah, I was just trying to be realistic about like what I felt like was a realistic size, but clearly these aren't quite it. Width-wise, maybe, but length, definitely not quite there. But either way, so it's just kind of interesting. And obviously then you want your interconnectivity between not just the platforms for your stations, but you also want, especially when they're close together like this, but you want obviously your path connections directly down into each otherwise inaccessible neighborhood. So this is a direct connection to the elevated portion of this path network, but then continues elevated obviously over the freeway to this metro platform. So now you have 2 different connection points directly into the metro, but this is also on the very end of it, because that way it's the least obstructive for people to go directly across the freeway through the end of the station and in and out of this neighborhood to access whichever platform they may want or need. And technically, it also therefore guarantees that now they can also use it, anybody living up here, to just walk or bike down into these areas or any of these neighborhoods down here, or even do this, go through here, and then do that as well, or up through here. You just boom, which is why it's on the end of that station. So all these different areas are now directly connected via paths into this area. Now, I could do that with all the other ones to represent where I think the paths should be. I'm probably not going to do that ever, or if I do, it's going to be a long way out, because obviously priorities are still on actually the network expansion project itself, which is more importante. I did originally, and I still kind of do want to have a line that connects up these towns in here, and this little pass up to here. I could even extend this line, because it's Lake City to, yeah, it's Lake City to Monroe. And then you could have it just continue instead of just looping normally. You can still have it loop. You could do this instead on your way back. But basically, wabam, out to here, boom, and then obviously have it then end here and come back again. I still wanted to do that because there's obviously a decent amount of population in there. There's probably some recreational access points in there as well. That'd make a lot of sense. But at the same time, again, I just feel like that might be a little too much for this network. So we can leave it as in the back of our head as a future option for, in this case, an infill line or a line extension. Likely a line extension of, again, the Lake City Monroe line would just extend out at least to here, if not also to, like I said, to here. And I definitely want to make it out to here. So you'd have a station in here. You'd have a station over here. So it would basically just be a two, maybe 3 station extension to connect up those little further reaching areas. And I also wanted a connection up here, but like it's just the train's just in an inconvenient enough location that it doesn't really work out very well. And I don't like my options going like through here to Everett or something. It just seems kind of dumb. Like, yeah, it's good to have direct connectivity into the Everett station because of all the other lines that go in there. And like it is, again, most people would probably want the HSR and also the ICE line connectivity. So again, it's still an option, but I don't like that as an option. Same with doing this, going down into, say, the east side of like Stevens and down and then go down through here. And the problem is you'd have your line takeover again, which just seems kind of stupid. So then you could, I guess, do this and follow this road through. Which is, I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities still available. And if somebody else wants to go figure those out, they can. But it's just a mess. One of the line that I got by far the most compliments on is actually the University Loop streetcar or light rail line. This line was by far the most complimented. It got by far also the most support and views as well. And I think that one was bundled with the South Lake Union Everett Metro, which is interesting because you'd almost think that the Metro to Everett would have been a little bit more appreciated. But no, it was just the University Loop. But yeah, so I know there's already, I don't even know where the hell that link line goes or where it routes through, but I just know that there is a link light rail line station right here outside of the U of W football stadium. So I fuck if I know. But yeah, so like I like this little T station as well. As bizarre as it seems in Kirkland. I think that it also makes a lot of sense. And with the paths through here and everything, and I'm sure decent to really good bus lines. And again, this is something I've said throughout the series is like, especially doing this network up in here, is that when you have systems like these with these kind of lines, it actually is very useful as a very useful tool and very powerful influencer on politicians, believe it or not, and developers to actually support pushing for and funding and actually using your funds for once actually in a good way that you need and want that everyone would use, And that is in having a proper transit network instead of lines pop up where maybe they aren't yet, and also alter some older ones that maybe they aren't the most efficient or like logical, but now that you have these lines in here, perhaps they actually would, and stations, perhaps they would actually complement those better if they rearrange those lines, and then also those lines would now make more sense as well. This is a weird little mini hub as well, is East Redmond, East downtown, I guess. Because you have the station here, the light rail station, but you also have the light rail station right here at the park and ride. It's massive fucking parking garage. It's just dumb. But yeah, so you have it there. So then you have this line going through here, and you have this line going through here. I still haven't actually edited this to make more sense, but you know, you get the idea. And so then you have three different rail lines all passing through the same place. And then because it has the direct path connection to this light rail station, if you didn't want to walk there, say it's pouring rain or something, which is for fucking people who are not from Cascadia, because obviously you go out and you get fucking dumped on, you become so sopping wet. And if your employer gets mad, you tell them to fuck themselves because they're from California. Because that's not how we do it here. We don't own raincoats. We don't use raincoats. We don't own umbrellas because we're not fucking heathens. So there you go. Anyway, but if you're from out of state and you're a fucking coward of Skywater, you can you walk from here, go directly to the light rail station, and just catch it the one stop into downtown. I don't like how separated these are, but at the same time, I think with the paths already present as well, I think this actually just makes a lot of sense to be able to have this hub look like this, especially considering a lot of this, as you can tell from these paths, is not my fault. It's fucking classic American city planning's faults. That's in road planning faults. That's what the fuck is the problem there. Issaquah, of course, has this little bit of a hub thing going on as well. They aren't directly connected to each other because you have a station here and you have a station here. This is the North Bend Seattle line, I believe. This one goes and stops here. So you'd have a quick jaunt, a quick jog down the path of the sidewalk here to connect directly into there. From, what is it called again? Like, it's something cliche. I think it's like Issaquah Heights or something like that. Because downtown's technically considered here. Because, you know, sprawling reasons. So yeah, I don't understand why downtowns are so off kilter from where they actually, that most of the developments are, but sure. Anyway, but yeah, so you're a little close by, but not, you know, it's not in the best location, but I mean, a quick ride share or bus hop, shuttle hop over there would do wonders, for that interconnectivity. And obviously we have this little bit of a pseudo loop going on here. So, Snoqualmie has this little cross station here, which is, I think, pretty fucking tight. Fucking cool. If you rob something from like 1999, 2004, it's fucking tight. And then this T station is also kind of interesting too, up here on the northeast corner of Snoqualmie, which is the most segregated in terms of development pattern town I think I might have ever seen outside of Texas. It's nonsensical. And then yeah, Lake City is right here. So there's technically two, and there would be in the future 3 stations if this alignment for, again, the video I recommended before, I'll put it on the screen again. Those 3 line options for the regional rail from Emniclaw, if that got selected, there'd be 3 lines hitting up Lake City Station, which isn't necessarily a bad idea either. But then again, I mean, you have this one as well. And technically, there's no reason why, because now that I think about it, getting rid of either of these is kind of feels like a stupid idea. Because, I mean, look at this fucking looping connection you can do. That's fucking brilliant. Like, look at this. Whee! There's so many different, like, loops you could do. Which, again, is great redundancy and intermodal, or interconnectivity. Which, internetworking, which I fucking love. But, like, it's very necessary and very underrated these days. Very unsung. See, same here, though. Like, if they have both of these lines, you could fucking loop between them, too, if you wanted to, right? Like, just from Renton to here. Like, literally, Lake Washington has a fucking loop at that point, if you have both of these, which I think is fucking awesome. Renton's especially well covered. Bellevue and Redmond are actually a little better covered. You now have this little system thing going on here, which I think is kind of cool. Little boomerang shape. And then you have all this up in here, which, you know, Woodinville connectivity, look at this. And Bothell becoming the Crossrail station, basically. No British mention intentional there. And then I like this little triad loop where there's interconnectivity between the East Lake Regional and these metro lines. I think that's fucking awesome. And then therefore, like, the Woodinville and all these other networks will be connected to. I just think it's fucking rad, okay? So, like, that's just really good connectivity again. And I would love to be able to see something like that almost anywhere. And plus, this one that does this goes through here, goes through Bothell, and eventually cuts up and connects to Paine Field. And because as of 2 or 3 years ago, them re-implementing commercial commercial airlines and their services to Paine Field, I'm telling you, man, there needs to be at least one major rail connection, express rail, metro, or regional rail connection like this to that airport. And if you have that, I mean, the connections between all these different lines throughout the region is, again, pivotal and fucking huge. And I think that that's just awesome. So if somebody wanted to get a good, quick express trip long distance to there for the commercial flights because they got it cheaper and it's a lot less hectic than SeaTac is, they could literally just go and they live in Enumclaw, or they live in Monroe, or they live in Puyallup or Graham or something. Boom, boom. They have these really quick fucking hitches, just rapid fire transfers that you don't have to wait almost any time. And then and it's only like 1 or 2 transfers per. And then boom, you're just all the way up and direct to inbox, direct to DVD, direct to VHS, direct to home video. Yeah, the Edmunds streetcar is an interesting one. I actually kind of like it too for this reason. And as you can see, I did originally kind of want to have a line that goes out east. There's still easily multiple routes you could take that would better cover these regions via this station here. But I mean, the fact that it connects you up into these areas, and again, you have your bus lines that are guaranteed to be able to take you from the transit center here, let alone from this intersection to directly to here at the transit center here at Shoreline. Is this Shoreline? There's a bunch of like new lifestyle centers slash city centers that aren't actually cities that are like heavily redeveloping and infilling up in here and densifying, and whichever one it is, like you're even in a quick jaunt distance there, you know. So like there's already guaranteed pre-existing connectivity, and then also you have your foot and your bike and your scooter and your whatever the fuck else, your wheelchair with nitrous installed, which probably is somehow illegal, which I think is one of the dumbest things in the world, because that would be fucking fun. At least you make it fun to be in a wheelchair. You make it hasty, but whatever. I also would love to be able to almost give a middle finger to the city of Everett, because I know the north part of Everett, there's at least 1, if not 2 major neighborhoods that they're trying to redevelop against people's wills that is actually really, and like, they want it redeveloped and everything, and they want it to densify, and they want it to be mixed use, and they want it to become actually good for them and safe for them and happy and healthy for them to live in, where they don't have to travel in a foods and transit deserts elsewhere. But like, at the same time, the way that they're going about it is shitty and kind of fucked up. And so it's like they're getting pissed off about it and they don't want it either. Of course, the city's saying, you don't have a fucking choice. We're doing it with your money anyway, which is typical for, you know, urban blight, aka you're poor, which is fucking stupid. But like, so as a middle finger to their mentality towards those areas in the north, it's like Delta. Isn't it called like the Delta neighborhood or something like that? I can't fucking remember. It's basically just like the garbage dumpster for the city. They're like, yeah, let's fucking dump all of our poor people and are mentally ill here and say, fuck it, we're gonna let it decay. And then we're gonna use it as an excuse to get big, fat, juicy kickback paychecks from developers put in our back pockets, and then redevelop it and call it urban renewal, also known as gentrification, which is always genuinely bad. And it looks like there may be a transit center right here in the first place. There is. So perfect. You could even just put a streetcar line. You could go back again, or you could do this instead. So you came through here, you could do this. and then go up here. So you have your extra station here, and you would do this. Theoretically, though, what you'd want to do is that would be coming back that way. So actually, you'd want to start going this way. And so you could go down like this, follow this road since they're redeveloping a bunch of shit down here. Do this. Boom. Come back up north. Yeah, okay, yeah. And then you can follow through here and then go up through this road. Come up here, turn through down through here, go through here, and then follow this main road down. And go to here. You could even just keep it in a loop like that. Sure, the far west side wouldn't have anything, but that's totally okay. And then congratulations, you have a nice little streetcar loop. But yeah, the Everett connectivity. So if you can visualize having that streetcar line or that line that does this, comes out and through, goes through here, and then does that whole thing I said that weaves through the region here, carries up this road, eventually curls up this way to the east and follows into downtown Arlington. Those are two ways you can visualize it. You can visualize both if you wanted to. Either way, that would even better cover Everett as well, make it even a better hub for everyone living there and anyone visiting for whatever reason you would visit Everett for. Like, that's not actually shade thrown at Everett, by the way. That's just yeah, that's just because I just genuinely don't know why somebody would want to visit Everett, like Everett proper. I don't know why. If you're an aviation enthusiast, I could totally understand Paine Field, but Everett proper, not entirely sure what the point of that would be. I'm sure there's something to do there, but like it's some interesting things that is very underrated, goes under the radar. And I guess you could drop a comment down below what the hell that would be. But like I just don't know, man. It doesn't seem like there's much to do or to see there, but so yeah. And then obviously a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, a handful of people were like, yeah, I really like these lines here that connect up into the Kitsap Peninsula and connect up Bremerton via Gig Harbor and everything, including Silverdale here. But the Bremerton Loop or the main line should go all the way at least up to here. And I don't remember what city this is. My brain is obsessed with insisting it's Anacortes, but I know it's not because I think that's on Camano Island. Yeah, I think this is Anacortes. Or that's Anacortes. I think this is Anacortes. But although I swore this was Camano, but I don't fucking remember. Anyway, this one is the one that has Deception Pass on it. So I'm pretty fucking sure. This is Deception Pass right here. So yeah. But anyway, I think this is Anacortes. Either way, it's so whatever the fuck you are. I don't remember what the fuck this is. I apologize. But anyway, this city, at least it should have connected to that. And I genuinely, when I was doing the loop and also the other line, I wanted to. And I really thought about it. But like, it really only made sense in the loop. And I thought about it. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really feel right or make a lot of sense to me either. Because the main population base is down here. And I didn't want to like have to go like this and then go through here. And then there's this fucking forest here, and you don't really want to get rid of those. And obviously there's private properties living in this forest, which is cool. Actually, I'd love to live in a secluded place like that. But you know, and then, I mean, circumnavigation sucks. But I guess you could do this instead, and you could do this, you know. But the problem is that then your loop is like hyperextended up, say even through here, because there's more development over here for some stupid reason. Stop sprawling! You know, but like you go up through here and then go through here, and then you'd obviously come down either here or here, probably here, so you can catch these guys because they're being fucking stupid, and then do this, or you could do this again and then come down and then do that. But like, you're missing a whole slew of Silverdale at that point, and especially all the development over to the east. So then you could do this instead, I guess. You could come back, go down through here, then do this, and then come off on the curve road and then do this. Like, you could do that and then go through here or through here, but then you're also missing this. I don't know. It's just, it's really stupid. And it's like this, it's not, is it really enough population to really give a fuck about for that? Because then, I mean, at that point, I almost feel like you should go here and you should go there, because why the fuck not? And look, here's developments up here. You might as well go all the way to the north end of the island and then connect it up, or the peninsula technically. And I totally get why you would want that. I kind of want that. But think about how inconvenient and almost impossible that is. It's fucking stupid. And then you have this hyper extended length loop that doesn't really capture much up here. And so then it would be way less cost effective. It would take a lot more time to be able to get back down to Bremerton, which is obviously what everyone's trying to do. So why would you do that? You see what I'm saying? So like, that's why I'm like, I fuck this. Cause I got stuck on that for like 4 straight hours that night. I'm just like, there's no viable way to do this. I got like halfway up into here and I'm like, nah, I don't like this. This is fucking stupid. And then I'm missing too much of this area here and I don't want to do that. And then like, what do I do then? So no, you know what? I'm doing this for the Bremerton Loop. So I understand why people are critical of that. And they're like, yeah, you really should at least hook up and hit this town. I get it. And you still could, but in not my little headcanon universe, that wouldn't make much sense. It wouldn't be that logistical. So that's why this is the case. IH, Combine Harvester. And you can see 3 different lines stopping there and going there. And obviously this tunnel, go figure, is the ultra high-speed rail line. So you have the ICE line, the ultra high-speed rail line, and at least one metro line stopping in there, which I think is pretty cool. In that first video, one of the things I had mentioned was that this is actually where this, this is actually where this line would stop. And this is the Bonnie Lake to Tacotown Metro, which I originally called the Puyallup Tacotown Metro, so Puyallup Tacoma Metro, but it's technically Bonnie Lake. And that's because of the fact that I wanted a direct connection like this at the southern terminus of the East Ender Regional Rail Line in Bonnie Lake. And so that way it gets off there, and then immediately if you want to go from Monroe direct to Tacotown downtown here, you can. And then you can just immediately take one single transfer at Bonnie Lake off of the end of the East Lake Regional, the East Ender Regional Line, and then transfer to this metro line to get into downtown Tacotown. This is actually where it actually technically ends. However, as you can see, it does continue north. And the reason why is because that's an option. And specifically, I think either you could extend it, and this northern end would actually functionally be a light rail line and function like it, even though it would actually be part of the metro. Or, and this is the much more logistically sound option, is to still have it end right here in downtown Tacotown. And what you would do is you'd then have a light rail line, a short streetcar basically, is what it would really be. So a true light rail for once, not like the fucking Max lines or the sounds, the Link light rail line. It's nothing like that. It's an actual real light rail line known as a short urban loop system to complement the actual real transit systems and lines and modes. So it would start here and then it would go north, and obviously we connect up through here, and then that means that these 2 lines now connect, which is really fucking cool, I think. So I mean, look at this. You have your interconnectivity up here in downtown Tacotown, and then you'd have one more down here. And that's a good set of spacing, if you ask me. That's really fucking good. So now you have your really rad connectivity on those ends. And of course, this one goes all the way down into here. It's Eagle something. I can't remember what the fuck it's called. Eagle something, though. But yeah. And so then they go up through here. And obviously, we go all the way up here to where the zoo is and all this new development is, which definitely, I guarantee it's for richer people and high-end nuts. But anyway, yeah, this is... I'm going to get it. Point Defiance. Nailed it. I'm getting better about that. I'm getting better about plucking that out of my memory hole. So yeah, Tacotown's a little bit of a weird intermodality point or interconnectivity point, but I like this line as well for where it's at, because it finally connects up this area, which is really disconnected by the freeway, which apparently most people up in Seattle, even though or the sound region I meant in Tacoma, you guys just like down here in Oregon are very anti-freeway and want to tear them out, like you did with Alaska Way, which good job. But apparently this one's so incredibly necessary that like everyone in Tacotown in the region is like, you can't get rid of this one. I still think you should, because I mean, come the fuck off. What are you doing? You separated everything. It's all severed now. You can't claim, oh, it's good enough because we have this. Oh, look at this. Oh, not good enough. And it connects down here. It's stupid. It's illogical. It's dumb. It's severed. And then you have to go all the way up here to connect. And then what the fuck's going on? Nothing! So what the fuck are you talking about, you numbnuts, you dumb fools? Get rid of this fucker. It's fucking stupid. It's dumb. Kill it and fire. But if you don't, at least this line would partially help with fixing that problem. Yeah, you have your pedestrian path here. It's fine. No, it's fucking, this is not, you don't accept status quo like this. You just don't. You do that, you're a fucking cuck. And you have severe mental issues and you need help. But anyway, Taco Dome. And yes, I remember as a comment, this is apparently a classic car museum. Didn't know that. It's very wildly well rated. I didn't know what the fuck this was originally when I was making these lines, and I got fucking clowned for it. People thought it was actually funny. I called it whatever the fuck I called it, and they're like, I guessed what it was. And they're like, hey, no one's calling for car museum. Of course, the name of it, I don't remember the name, but like, okay, sorry, I didn't know what the fuck that was. The last time I was here was 2006. So sorry, I was 12 last time I was here, okay? I'm 31 now. It was 19 years ago. Leave me alone. And this was all still a bunch of surface parking. And we had parked like dead center right fucking here. Because unfortunately, I was born and raised in a Jehovah's Witness family. And if you're from this area, you know, at least from that period in time especially, all the big JW conventions happened in the Taco Dome. During the intermission for lunch break, we had, or no, yeah, no, it was that and also for breakfast right before we went in. But for lunch, my dad had this thing where he was super into the Frito-Lay plastic containers of things. And so either you get the stacks or you get like we get like the Cheetos Puffs balls or something like that. And we had Cheetos Puffs balls at that time. And I remember being this exact, like, it was the parking space literally right fucking here. And I remember eating that and enjoying that with like a zinger. Yeah, a zinger. This is my dad's favorite preferred version of a zinger / a ding dong / a Swiss cake / or Swiss roll / a ho ho / a cupcake / a because they're all the fucking same. They're just different shapes. His favorite was a zinger. And so, yeah, we had zingers and chocolate zingers. And we were eating that with whatever the fuck our lunch was. Probably sandwich. I have no idea. I remember enjoying that because, I mean, that's obviously a feature because A, food's fucking great. B, there's something magical about the Sound region, including, yes, around the Taco Dome and the industrial district. Somehow it was magical, so at least back then. Right, yeah, and then being able to not be droning through and trying to pretend I'm interested in this fucking cult bullshit. Yeah, no, I'm good. And so that was like the features for these trips was always being able to enjoy the drives and eating lunch in a parking lot. And like wandering around the waterfronts. It's really fucking cool. There's that. Oh, memory lane. I might keep that in. I probably won't. I haven't kept it in the last handful of times I mentioned it, but I probably should just say fuck it. Because this is already going to be a long video by default, because its very nature is going to be that way. So, yeah. Anyway, and yeah, I like the fact that I connected up Graham. A lot of people would probably think this is dumb and not necessary. You could at least stop here. No, I want to get the outer reaches of Graham too, because I want to make sure they're fully connected. One other line I kind of wanted to implement is something that starts here, probably, and then goes out, goes through this newer development, connects up through this one, at least here on the south end of it, and then connects up through the new ones down here. Not maybe like this, come around, connect through it, and then eventually goes up into Buckley here, and that's where it terminates. So that way this whole area again is very, very well connected, and this is better connected through the south end here, because I think, I mean, the spacing it's just right. I think that this area needs to be connected east-west. It's not currently, and so it definitely does need to be, especially with all the development sprawl happening. It needs to happen, and then that way, again, East Ender connectivity, and then regional rail stop, literally through these regions, if you want to, directly at Enumclaw. Again, really cool, really good. And you have connectivity up in the north area through these areas if you want it. And obviously then eventually via here to go through here as well. So it's pretty neat. This area actually ended up being kind of a hubbish area, which is of course Federal Way. I also would like to have a line that would go all the way into Dash Point, and if not, be able to loop around here, because I'm huge on. In fact, I'll put a video up on the screen here, which this is like an extra video where I'm like, I can't help it. I have to fucking connect people up into these parks that we have via shuttle buses. So like, if I wanted to, after I start going into the big stuff, after phase 2 completes, which is going to be obviously the whole Intercity Express and high-speed rail and interstate connections and network, it's throughout the region as phase 3. Once I complete that, I could come back and like try to figure out, okay, let's do some shuttle lines for shuttle buses for reasons that I think make a lot of sense, like directly connecting people to Dash Point State Park and the Dash Point Pier, and that way you can connect people directly to Dash Point State Park here, and then obviously the pier here would be connected up with a shuttle. So you probably just do this. We super weirdly circumnavigated. And yeah, so then also the people who live in these areas, even though I'm pretty sure they're richer, would be able to have a direct ability to connect into this area as well. And also anybody who works in the leisure aspects of this area, which there isn't really much going, despite the fact that there's a decent amount of tourism to this state park and everything in this pier. There really isn't that much in the way of business, which I find to be interesting. But like, again, you know, any workers of any kind can easily be able to get in there, especially if they do decide to maybe densify a little bit around the pier, so that it becomes a little bit of a, again, a visitor's hub. So leisure and commercial targeted at them. And then again, it would directly allow them and residents to be able to make direct trips to and from this shopping center and even employment centers, or to their neighbors' places or their friends' places over in Federal Way proper, which I think makes a lot of sense. And then also connect into each of these different rail lines, which again makes a lot of sense, I think. So I think that's pretty cool. But like, you see these different like loops, right? These different gaps. This is what's really exciting to me whenever I see my ideas come together, is these little gaps I think are great, especially considering, again, I'm still always accounting for pre-existing transit and transit that may expand therefore at some point with the pre-existing systems. So I don't want to go overboard and like absolutely inundate everything with metro lines, because that wouldn't really make much sense. And obviously you still need to heavily rely on bus. Bus should always be, I believe, like 60% on average, I think, is the healthy balance in a transit system. Is 60% of your system is bus networks. It's just bus lines. And then the rest is almost exclusively intermodal. So rail in this case, mainly fully grade separated metros, you know, streetcars, and regional rail lines. I think that makes a fuckload of sense. And if you can add in intercity and intercity express lines, at least, if not HSR, that's even better where and when it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, this is like, even this kind of becomes like a weirdly radial hub, you know, Snoqualmie / Monroe, or sorry, North Bend, which I think is just super freaking cool. I'm never gonna not want to call North Bend Monroe, and I apologize. It's so perfect. Yeah, honestly, you know what? I didn't say this in this video, I don't think, because I don't think I realized it, because I didn't really like zoom out properly and really look with the whole system in place. It would be logical to actually have 2 of the 3 options for these regional rail lines. It would make a lot of sense to have these 2 options implemented into the system, I think, together. I think it would make a lot of fucking sense to do that. And then see, I mean, even this area is now connected up that way. And this area is, which is super fucking cool. And obviously, I like the connectivity of these lines throughout here, because you have the Disburyport loop, which is because it's Des Moines. And obviously, Burien, and then obviously, last but not least, SeaTac. Airport, thus port, because Dispiritac just sounds fucking stupid. And Dispiracy sounds like a conspiracy to try to make people think they're in Seattle and they're not. So, yeah, because again, a lot of people from outside the region don't realize that SeaTac is in fact its own city. So, yeah, it's its own jurisdiction. So, like, yeah, people just think, oh, it's just the name of the airport. And they only think of the air. No, if you, that proves you're not from the region. You're not from Cascadia, because anybody in Cascadia knows by default, especially if they're born and raised, SeaTac is also a town. Oh, this is super cool. The problem is, though, is that it's actually not going to work that well if I don't make a uniform color for my lines. But the red is obviously bus lines. One line. This is obviously rail. This is the Empire Builder and Amtrak Cascades lines. This is the Amtrak route. This is really cool. But yeah, like, look at how fucking interconnected everything is, dude. It's super neat. You got this fucking light rail line here, it looks like, potentially. I'm just saying, man, this is really fucking neat. Look at how these would interconnect, dude. And the bus line. Dude, this is super cool. Like, how are you not excited about seeing this kind of intermodality and interconnectivity, you know? With the pre-existing systems in transit, and then with my own, like, the concepts, like, look at how well they intersect, especially in Seattle proper, but, like, up here, Montlake Terrace, that's what it is. And Lynnwood, I was thinking of Lynnwood. Montlake Terrace, their shoreline. So yeah, it was Lynnwood. Straight out of Lynnwood, baby. Best album of what's his face? Weird Al. Everett. See, actually, Everett's actually decently connected. And then these metro lines and ice line and everything, I think would actually force them to have to greatly increase the frequency and the quality of their pre-existing transit, which is really freaking cool. But I mean, look at this shit, dude. This is so cool. Empire Builder, of course. This is so neat. Like, look at this too. Like, where I chose to put the fucking station. That is so cool, dude. Like, that was completely unintentional too. Like, I didn't even know where all the transit kind of converges. It actually, my eyes are starting to tear up because I'm so, like, semi-overwhelmed with how, like, awesome and exciting this is to me. This is so neat. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Because, like, I didn't even look at this map once, dude. Look at this. I fucking chose the right road. Somebody actually suggested that this should go further east or it should stay further west over here and not follow this road. I chose this road because I was looking at all the options. I'm like, this is definitely the most central and best option. Well, look at this. I understand wanting to take this option because, see, there's no current transit there for some reason. I guess there's no bridge over here. So, like, you do this, or actually you do this, I guess. And then that way, all this gets intertwined or interconnected. I guess I could do this. But all of it would get interconnected, you know? Like, even do this. And then these areas that don't currently have transit would be better connected. So I could totally understand why somebody would suggest that. But this makes the most sense, especially today. Again, look at the overlap with the pre-existing bus lines. That's dead center in those lines and where they would meet with it. That is fucking rad. Are you kidding me? And then obviously we have the intermodal transit center right here at the fucking port. So all these different the ferry lines and the buses would all interconnect directly with the Loop Metro, which is super fucking neat. Like, look at how dedicated and central this is. This is fucking cool. And obviously this follows the bus line too, but that's, like, totally okay. The redundancy is great because then it guarantees they're gonna balance each other out. Really fucking cool. Look at that. Look at how it connects up into Gig Harbor too, along back with the line again. That is really good redundancy, dude. I like that a lot. Oh, that is so cool. So basically this bus line would just filter directly back into the stations along the metro line. That's fucking neat. I like that. That's really cool. The Olympia line kind of cuts dead center too. That's again really fucking cool. Really exciting. I like that a lot. There's apparently like no transit down here. It stops here and it stops here. So this is even better that I went as far as I did. Elk Plain, that was it. And Graham, of course. That I went as far as I did with these metro lines. I guess I could have gone further down because you can see the city limits here. But like that's fucking cool, bro. I love this. This is really neat. Just to be able to get this perspective as well, because I'm seeing this for the first time too, as I'm sure you guys are. This is such a cool map layer to use to then like look and compare. Like, look at how it's not really connected to dash point at all, the actual point itself. That's pretty stupid. So all the more reason why having a shuttle line that would do this makes just perfect sense, I think. I'm actually surprised how like King County Metro apparently doesn't really have anything going on down here though, in terms of transit. Like it's literally these two bus lines. That's inexcusable. That is absolutely not okay. Because this is a public service and necessity. So not having a transit down through here is despicable. That needs to exist. I am surprised at all of this though. Like there's a lot more transit up here in the North Bend area than I expected. And Snoqualmie. I kind of expected it to be mostly a transit desert as well. I don't know if this is like a summer line. Like these thousands ones, I think these are summer lines. These are probably or summer/winter. They're going to be the seasonal lines. I'm willing to bet you that connect you up into the ski resorts. But I guess apparently it looks like not, which is interesting because does that mean that is it circling the Yakima that either the Yakima Transit District has that line and or that Sound Transit runs it? Or some other transit line like that runs system up there runs a bus line consistently like that, which then I wonder what that is. If anybody is up there and knows what that line is and that system that runs that or systems, please let me know and let me know like if it runs all year, if it runs only seasonally, if it is more of a tourist line, like what exactly it is. Or if it is actually like a proper Intercity Express line, bus line, that is very much a regional service, basically. That is very much like Oregon's Point, which is an ODOT service, which probably won't exist anymore if it does that at all because of the lack of funding. But then I'll just fart wave you over to those videos and mainly the big, long, in-depth, detailed deep dive to why, as pro-transit as Oregonians are, we keep we're showing that we are bound and determined and hell-bent to reject any and all transportation funding packages they'll ever put on the table for vote, because that deserves a deep dive, I think. Because I think it's a very good set of questions to ask and very important to let people know and find out. Somebody said that I should have gone up to Shelton with this line, but then that would have been regional rail, and that's totally fine. The thing is that I actually had a different for actually Washington's regional rail and also the Intercity Express high-speed rail lines, interstate lines. I already had an idea to go into Shelton. So basically it would be Olympia, Shelton, and obviously it would follow you up into at least Port Townsend, if not skipping Port Townsend and going up into Sequim and of course Port Angeles. And no, you will never get me to say it the way you think it should be said, because Washingtonians are in fact absolutely fucking wrong about how to say this. It's Sequim. And if you want to fucking be a nitpick about it and be a bitch about it and get all upset and your feathers bent out of shape, squeam. So fuck you. I don't know why I just took the extra time to fucking lay out the whole thing when I was just trying to give one single example. I got distracted. Do you see how much this stuff means to me? I'm gonna shut the fuck up now because I've already said what I needed to say. So yeah, I'll leave a drop out. Wow, choose your words. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the entire system, especially seeing it with this open street layer map with the pre-existing transit system and lines in the middle of that. Sorry, I had a very itchy nose suddenly. Yeah, what you think about it. And yeah, this is the last of the videos though for the sound region. Next step is to go back up into the cheat sheet area that I totally didn't accidentally give you previews of, as I'm working on currently, in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia. British Columbia. That's right. The British version of Columbine. Oh no. Anyway, yeah, there's that. And then that will, once we're finished with that, that will complete phase 2. And then when we complete that network, it's on to phase 3, baby. And that's the one I'm most excited for. So thank you so much for watching. And especially if you watch the whole way through, because I know it ain't easy. But hey, if I have to go through the agony of editing this and figure out how to chapter this fucker up, then you're gonna, for you to have an easier time watching, you're gonna have to suck it up too, Buttercup. Okay, there you go. Anyway, that said, I'm gonna shut the fuck up, like I said. Let me know what you think of the system in the comments below. And until next time, fuck yourself. And I hope to see you around for the second half of phase 2, and of course, phase 3. And whatever happens beyond that point, because we know we're gonna keep going and going and going, because well, you can tell there, if I keep it in, I can't stop. I have a habit. I'm addicted. There's 2 more. Bye-bye.